YouTube. Why would you do that to me? That shit took all day to get my live back. That's crazy. Good morning. You mean good night? It's 9:23.
Take a look at the cartoon on the screen.
Bro, I'm so mad. I'm so freaking mad. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Like, bro, it took me all day to get my freaking live back. All day. And they flagged my live earlier this morning because they thought I was freaking underage and I didn't have parental supervision. I'm like, well, excuse me. I'm gonna tell this live. I'm 19, okay? So don't flag me no more. Don't flag this live no more. I don't need no parent watching me because I'm 19. Thank you very much. No, nobody reported me. It was just a bot. The live got flagged by bots. Boom. Oh, that shit needs to charge. I'm gonna give it computer gas. Time to charge you up. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why do you look like that? 24 hours. There we go. Perfect. Voila. So fucking cool. I'm like shivering. I'm shivering in my boots. And I don't even got boots on. Loki, I kind of want to listen to Creepypasta. He wanna lick my bum, but clap my ride, ta 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 ta. Got him going crazy for that poo, na 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 na. Bro. No! Fuck you. It died. Got him going crazy for that poo, na 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 na.
The only thing that makes it any easier on my coworkers, not long ago, an especially good friend of mine.
I don't think I need to be brushed. I have braces. I brush them all the time. I'm not brushing them fucking 6 times a day.
That meant our managers made sure we rarely ever saw each other. The way they put us at opposite ends of the store.
Hold on, let me turn this on.
Two of their best employees to accidentally find happiness together. But that's beside the point. One night, Josie and I were working the same shift, but as usual, not together. I had to help man the self-checkout area, and Josie was holding down the clothing department by herself. It was late, enough for a bit of excitement to start building up in my stomach. Not only would I be home in a couple of hours, but the fitting rooms were closing any minute, which meant Josie might be free to come help near checkout as the last of the customers left the store.
So it was like his crush or something?
I momentarily forgot where I worked. Walmart. a place in which even a fleeting moment of joy is easily destroyed. I had just finished checking someone's receipt, making sure they correctly scanned in their 8 cases of diet soda, when I waved them
Dang.
on and looked toward the entrance to see an unsavory sight. A large, sweaty shirtless man was
Why does he have to be a
into
big
the
fat
store.
black man?
He didn't actually run into anybody, but he looked like
Why does he have to be a big... Why does it have to be a fat black man?
he was either on something or off his rocker completely. Still, I had to step away from my station and tell him something important. Sir, stop. You can't be in here half naked. You have to put a shirt on. I'm going to buy a shirt right now, dumbass.
Last time I checked, I
Mind
was
your
allowed to walk in the
business.
store with a motherfucking
I didn't
bikini
feel there
on.
was much of a choice for me but to let him slide. The guy was way bigger than me, so I didn't want any trouble. Reluctantly, I returned to the self-checkout area, trying to focus on the people there. I was
Why
at
is
work.
it freezing?
I
It's
didn't need to be a
cold.
hero or anything. I just had to do what I was supposed to do and let the people in the clothing department handle that guy. A few seconds too late, it hit me. Josie was running the clothing department alone. That was I had the realization. I heard Josie scream. I immediately made
Oh
a break for it,
no.
running as fast as I could. I got to the clothing department seconds later, but I didn't get there in time.
Oh, she
Didn't
did.
save Josie. All I managed to do was to get there just to be able to watch as that freak. He had this giant red knife in his hand from God knows where. He grabbed Josie and stabbed her. I saw the life drain from her eyes as she collapsed. The man fell on top of her, pulling the knife out just to take it into both hands and plunge it straight down, right through the center of her neck. I thought I must be having a nightmare, a hallucination, something. It couldn't be real. It all happened in 5 or 6 seconds, and just like that, Josie was dead. Even if I hadn't been frozen in shock, I couldn't have stopped him. No one could have. That man was a monster. And then he craned his neck back to look at me, his face and mouth soaked in Josie's blood. His eyes full of such pure evil, they couldn't have been human.
Oh, hell
She
nah.
wouldn't stop following me. Now why can't you just leave me alone?
Bitch, why can't
The
you
man
just leave
started
my
running towards
store?
me. I wanted to stand there and fight him or die and join Josie, but I was too afraid. My instincts took over and I ran like a coward. I could barely breathe with the tears. And somehow,
Fuck
that man
that
was so
shit.
faster than he should have been. A few more seconds, and he might have caught up and granted my wish. But at the last second, I realized I was running straight for a bunch of cops. I panicked and ducked, tripping over myself and sliding across the floor. The next instant, I heard a gunshot. A bullet flew right over my head. It made my ears ring. But when I could hear again, I heard the clicking of what I realized was a taser. I looked back and saw the man collapse and rigid on the floor, not
You had to
far from me,
tase him
as
after
the
shooting him?
electricity coursed through his
Motherfucker,
body.
what?
Too late, too late for some, but it was enough to help
Really?
the cops arrest him and put a stop to the madness. Later, we found out the man had stolen a knife from the nearby Walgreens. The cops showed up so early because they were already looking for him, but they didn't expect the theft to turn into what it did. According to the police, the man said he killed Josie because he thought she was some sort of demon, something that had been stalking him for weeks, tormenting him. I knew it had to be madness. No sane individual would mistake Josie for a demon. No decent person would ever take her away from this world.
Not a
Not
regular
from me.
person. Fuck.
A Walmart employee in Arkansas
So
was
cold.
taken out
Oh
by
my
a man
gosh.
who allegedly told authorities that he was being
Help
stalked
me.
by a demon.
I
Around
need the heater.
10:58 p.m., officers were dispatched to a report of a man stabbing a woman inside the store. Officers arrived
Oh.
and encountered 37-year-old Cedric Ross, who was still armed with a knife.
And he
During
don't
the
even look
encounter,
like no crazy
officers gave Ross
person.
multiple
He looks like a
commands to
regular
drop the
ass
weapon,
black
but he
man.
did not comply and came toward an officer while still armed. In response, one officer fired one shot, but missed. Another officer then used a taser, and Ross was eventually taken into custody. The victim, Jordan Drinkwater,
Aw, she looks
32,
like a sweet
died
white
at the
girl
scene from
too.
her injuries.
She looks so
During the
pretty.
investigation, Ross allegedly told law enforcement that he had stolen a large knife from Walgreens
That fucking sucks
before
for
the
her,
attack,
man.
and a machete from Walmart for protection because he said a demon was stalking him. He described the demon as a light-skinned black woman with brown eyes and a weave whom he had only seen at a
And the
distance.
woman you killed
While
was
at
white.
Walmart,
You
he said
stupid
he
fuck.
allegedly grabbed the demon and began stabbing it in the neck and shoulder in an attempt to kill it. However, after the stabbing, He looked down and realized that the victim on the ground was not the demon he thought he had saw. Authorities said Ross was not employed by Walmart and was not known to drink water and had no interaction with her before the attack. Ross is being held without bond and charged
I'm literally
accordingly.
freezing.
Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million?
What is this for?
We're trying to get advice for the younger generation.
I made my first million last year, actually.
What line of work are you in?
I'm in sales.
Okay, what's the best advice you can give someone that's in sales?
You're only as good as your sales reps and your CRM.
What CRM do you use?
We used to use one of the old legacy CRMs, but it just didn't give us the speed and agility that we needed. But then we switched to Monday
Let it
CRM
hit you like
and
an old
sales
friend.
were flying.
Why is the CRM so important?
Well, no specific CRM can make you a millionaire, but if you want to move fast in today's world, you need a CRM that doesn't hold you back. Monday CRM propels you forward.
It's
Instead of
fucking
spending time messing
freezing.
around with old systems, you can
I'm
invest
literally
in
freezing my tits
relationships
off.
and cultivating leads and closing deals.
One last piece of advice for our viewers.
Make sure you have the right tools for your job. If not, stop now.
An
Find the
ad
right CRM.
right now.
For me, that's
I'm watching
CRM.
scary
Then move
stories,
forward and nothing can stop.
unsettling true horror stories,
No problem.
animated. Because it keeps away the germs in the house and it makes you stay awake, which is what I'm trying to do.
My wife and I have 2 kids together who just recently hit the age where they can appreciate fireworks.
Why you
Up
got your
until now,
fucking
the
dogs in
loud
the camera
noises
like
only
that?
scared them and made them
What the
cry.
fuck?
But this year, it was a major fear they wanted to
Nobody
conquer.
wanna see them
Sort of like a big
toes.
roller coaster. Of course, for our kids' first clear memories of fireworks, it was better for them to experience something a bit more organized and more artfully inspired than a bunch of drunk aunts and uncles launching mortars at each other at a family gathering. With that in mind, we took a trip to the beach. The town there puts on a yearly fireworks show at sundown. The show was a little disappointing for us adults, but more than enough bright colors and explosions for the kids. Unfortunately, the difficult
One
part of the
anime
night
that I'm
came
watching
when we
right
walked
now
back to the
is
car.
Rainbow
Somewhere
Gate.
along the way, I must have stopped paying attention to the streets and slipped into a sketchy area. We kept hearing and seeing smaller fireworks
It's
going
on
off all
Tubi.
around us. Just regular people shooting off whatever they had like
No.
everywhere else in the country does when the big show is done. Eventually, I heard an entirely different sound cut through the air, right to us. Somebody
It's
was
at my
shouting,
pace, so
trying
I
to
can
get
go
our
whenever I
attention.
want.
I couldn't tell why at first, but once I laid eyes on the guy who was shouting at us, it became clear. On the other side of the street, a pale white dude with a shaved head was saying something obscene. My daughter saw him and said he was waving at us, but I didn't know how to explain
What the
to her
fuck?
that
Why
the
the
way
fuck he
his
look like a
arm was stuck
dickhead?
straight out, that it was really a salute we did not want to see. Crowded behind him on the lawn were 5 or 6 other men, also with shaved heads and wearing some kind of makeshift uniform, covered in vulgar patches with weapons holstered all over them. I'd
They look
seen
like
their
Nazis.
kind of outfit before, but never this close, and never with their attention focused entirely on me. I told my family to look away and pick up the pace, trying to hide the terror in my voice. Our kids were confused, but my wife was already picking up our son, and I was getting ready to grab my daughter if I had to. Unsatisfied with us, the leader shouted at us to come back, and when we didn't, him and his followers crossed the street and
Oh
started to
fuck
quickly
no, I would have
close the
dipped.
gap. I knew then
You
that
got me
we weren't
messed up.
getting out of this unscathed. Soon, the men crossed
Got
in
me
front of us
messed
and forced us
up.
to
Y'all
stop.
should have
We
been
were
ran.
surrounded. If there
And
was
y'all
any
black
tiny
too.
chance
Why
of
y'all still
escaping
standing
without
there?
a fight, this was my last opportunity to make it happen.
Is there a problem, sir?
Don't you idiots know it's not safe to be here after sundown?
No, I was not aware, but we were already leaving.
You come around here from that cesspool you call a city and muck up our town, trying to multiply and mooch off us.
Sir, I promise we will leave your town and immediately go home, as long as you let us go.
Is that right? Well, allow us to make sure you run plenty far enough, huh?
Without
You better not
explaining
shoot at him.
the
What the
men
fuck?
stepped aside,
Hold
clearing
on.
the path, but at the same time, the men surrounding us didn't budge. They did the opposite, clenching us in, forcing us to go out the opening. It was the direction we were headed from the start, but suddenly, especially with the smirk on that man's face as he waved us on, Going that way didn't seem like something we wanted to do.
Oh,
On
he's
the
gonna
other
shoot
hand,
at them
we didn't have
as
a
soon as they
choice.
start
I
running.
led us forward, carefully guarding my daughter. My wife followed with our son in her arms. We made it out of the circle, away from the gang about 20 feet, when all of a sudden, I heard something. A fuse. Who would be lighting fireworks right now? Then it hit me. They were pointed at us. I shouted at my family
Oh,
to run,
shit.
but before we could move, there was an explosion. It blinded us, deafened us. All I saw was a bright light, then nothing, and just raging in my ears. I could still feel my daughter's hand, but barely. I picked her up, hoping my wife would do the same as I did. Then I kept running blindly. I couldn't even see the ground at my feet, but I knew I couldn't stay still. Those men shot a goddamn bomb at us. I didn't want to find out what else they would do while we reeled from the shockwave. After what felt like an eternity, I slowly regained my hearing and vision, but nothing was quite the same. My wife was nowhere to be seen. I
Oh,
feared the worst. My stomach dropped and twisted, but I pushed the thought out of my head. I had to stay focused and get help. No longer knew where I
okay, I
was,
need to
but
focus on my schoolwork. I got distracted. Oh no. That's what happens when you got ADHD. Wait, was I supposed to write about this? Oh, no. Okay. At the end of 2011, Microsoft's operating system, Windows, were on more than 90% of the world's computers. As a consumer, do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? It's good for consumers, I guess. In the 1970s, all Americans had to use AT&T for their phone service. People only had a few models of telephone to choose from. They could not buy a phone in the store. Instead, they had to rent it from T-Mobile, or not T-Mobile, AT&T as a consumer. What is your view? It would be way easier to buy it out of the store. As a consumer, what is your view? I mean, no, because it makes sense because they only have a few models. If they had a bunch, then it would be, yeah. This would be fair, I guess. Yeah, I knew it. It's fair.
As you move to the interactive instruction, where you will learn more about captains of industry during the Gilded Age. In this country, we think of competition amongst companies as a good thing. It's good for our economy.
It is, but like, imagine you were the owner of Whataburger and motherfucking Burger King took their ass and planted their asses right next to your motherfucking Whataburger.
But throughout our history, companies have tried to gain an advantage
That shit's annoying. I don't like that.
and beat out the competition by creating a monopoly. A monopoly
That's like having a hot dog stand and then somebody else comes along and stands right next to your hot dog stand.
trade in a good or a service. The computer company Microsoft is a good example. They established the Windows
Selling their hot dogs right next to your hot dog stand.
and after a period of time, they controlled the entire market. But because of Microsoft's dominance in the market, rival technology companies found it next to impossible to compete with them. And this resulted in a lawsuit in which the United States government tried to break up Microsoft's monopoly.
You want a burger?
Now,
Eat a burger.
a large company or business combination that gains or attempts to gain control of a market. And one example of a trust was the AT&T Corporation.
Eating a burger with no honey mustard.
Consumers had only one choice for telephone service. On top of that, they also owned the only company that made the telephone.
What's the question?
People couldn't even own a phone. You could only rent or lease a telephone from AT&T. Now, as a result, there were fewer choices, and few new technologies were introduced. And over time, people paid much more than their phones were worth in their rental fleet. Now, after a 10-year court case, the United States government forced the giant corporation to break apart into smaller companies.
Why would I be doing the same? Why would I still be in school years from now? That makes no sense. I'm about to graduate this year.
And many companies can now manufacture telephones. So after looking at this, let's take a look at our objectives. By the end of this lesson,
I don't have a test. This is a lesson.
explain Carnegie's vertical integration practices. Describe Rockefeller's
Finals are tomorrow.
explain how monopolies and trusts reduce competition in the Gilded Age.
Oop, completed. Okay. Time for the next one.
During the Gilded Age, some companies created monopolies. They dominated or controlled entire markets such as steel, oil, and railroads. In this lesson, you're going to learn about two men who became some of the richest in the world by leading companies that created monopolies. Let's take a look at your lesson question. During the Gilded Age, how did companies build monopolies? Well, in the warm-up, you learned some key words that will help you to understand this question. But in order to help you further understand, you're going to need to know about some key leaders and the businesses that they created. One leader was Andrew Carnegie, who took his steel-making business, Carnegie Steel, and grew it into a monopoly.
Could possibly have a urinary tract infection.
Now, John D. Rockefeller bought a couple of oil refineries and expanded his business until at one point he controlled about 90% of all the oil refineries in the United States. Now, he is widely regarded by historians as the richest man in American history. Today, his fortune would have been worth somewhere around $500 billion.
Damn.
Now, there were two approaches that you'll also need to learn about to creating monopolies: vertical integration and horizontal integration. Now, first, we're going to look at how Andrew Carnegie put together his business empire, Carnegie Steel, by using vertical integration.
Buck asked me why it hurts when he pees, or every time he pees, and I told him you probably have a urinary tract infection.
All right, so just who was Andrew Carnegie? Well, he moved to the United States from Scotland in 1848. He was 13 years old at the time. His first job was in a cotton factory where he was a
I'm not
bobbin
watching
boy.
shows, I'm
Now,
working.
This meant that it was his job to change the spools of thread on top of sewing machines. In 1853, he left that job and he started working for the Pennsylvania Railroad. And he grew very close with the owner, and the owner became his mentor. He taught him all about the business, including iron manufacturing, the rails, the railroads themselves, bridges, and also how to manage a large company. In 1856,
Why does it keep... Oh,
keep in
never mind.
Andrew
I thought I was
only
about to die.
21 years old at this time. When he was still working at the railroad, Carnegie borrowed about $200.
No, because that's not how it works.
Investment. By the 1860s, he was investing tens of thousands of dollars a year in various businesses. That's when his fortune began to really grow. After the Civil War, he retired from the railroad and he went to start his own iron making and bridge construction business. The Pennsylvania Railroad, his former company, was one of his biggest customers.
Sam, this live isn't for 14-year-olds to be in, so no, I will not be saying that.
In 1856, Carnegie's drive, his work ethic, and his willingness to invest in new technologies allowed him to build a monopoly. Which, remember, your vocab word for monopoly defined it as the exclusive possession or control of, the supply of, or trade in a good or service. Now, in Carnegie's case, this was a monopoly in steel. By the 1860s, Carnegie knew the Bessemer process, which, remember, is the process of taking steel out of iron. This had improved
You
the
go to the
production of
doctor
high-quality
and get
steel.
yourself checked out.
Carnegie understood that American railroads would switch to steel rails and bridges, and if steel was inexpensive enough to replace iron, he could make a lot of money. So in 1875, Carnegie opened his first steel plant, and it was a success from the start. A few years later, Carnegie invested in the Frick Coke Company. Now, I'm not talking about the drink, Coca-Cola. I'm talking about the other kind of Coke. Coke is a cold
I'm dead.
that is used as fuel. And Carnegie wanted to guarantee his fuel supply. So by 1883, Carnegie controlled this company too. Still in 1883, Carnegie bought out one of his rivals, Homestead Works. Now with this purchase, he also acquired other important assets. Transportation. He got a fleet of ships, a rail line, and he got iron and coal fields. As a result, he began to provide his own raw materials and the transportation. Now, Allegheny Steel had also
That's
been
basically
in
what he said
competition
you
with
needed.
Carnegie. So upon purchasing the company in 1889, Carnegie discovered that Allegheny Steel production was more efficient than his own. So he made all of his existing plants convert to Allegheny's process. By 1892, Carnegie owned a wide array of steel plants and suppliers. He merged them into one big company that he called Carnegie Steel. Now that company monopolized or controlled most of the U.S. steel industry. Which statement most accurately represents Carnegie's effect on the steel industry between 1865 and 1892? Which statement most accurately represents Carnegie's effect on the steel industry between 1865 and 1892?
If you make it. Let's see. Carnegie built a monopoly by remaining focused on an iron, ore, and coke supplies. No. Carnegie was reluctant to change production methods and processes. No. Carnegie stayed with the Pennsylvania Railroad until he opened his own plant and started making steel. No. Carnegie realized that steel was the metal of the future and began to invest in or buy up potential competitors. Yes, that is the right answer.
In 1892, Carnegie combined his dozens of companies into one giant corporation. He called this Carnegie Steel. Now his companies included iron mines, coke fields, steel mills, and railroads. And as a result,
Given that the
Carnegie
fact
controlled the raw
that you
materials
are
and the
behind a
means of production for
screen
steel.
and will never get to see me in person, you won't be getting to stick no D anywhere.
This allowed him to produce steel much more cheaply than his competitors. So what Carnegie did is called vertical integration, and that's when a single company controls the raw materials, the factories, and everything else that it takes to produce its product. Take a look at the graph on the side here. You see how it's moving upward?
Wait, can I like plug
Starts
this
out
in?
getting the raw materials.
I thought I had it
here,
plugged in already.
here,
What the
starts
fricky
production
dicky?
here, and then he's got his own way to transfer everything where he needs it to go. He doesn't need to rely on anyone else, so it keeps his costs down, and it makes him very successful.
There we go.
So why was Andrew Carnegie so important to the steel
You
industry?
travel a
Well, let's
lot
review.
for work.
He cut
But that
costs
doesn't mean you
and
should be a
drive
part-time
down
travel
steel
agent.
prices, forcing his competitors out of business
There must-
because he controlled all the raw materials and all the production. He fought competitors who had created new innovations in the industry, essentially taking their good ideas and making them his own. By 1900, he controlled 25% of the nation's entire steel output.
Does that
And
matter?
then in 1901, he sold his company for back then what would have been $480 million. But if you convert that to today's amount of money, it would be somewhere around $250 billion.
Wow, so much money.
In 1889, Andrew Carnegie wrote an essay titled The Gospel of Wealth
Well,
that
guess what?
explained, among other
I
things,
don't care.
his business philosophy. Read the quotation from the essay, focusing on what his business philosophy was. When you are done, you will answer a question.
Read the quotation below by Carnegie, focusing on what his business philosophy was. Okay, I'm done reading. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I didn't even read it yet. We accept and welcome, therefore, as conditions to which we must accommodate ourselves, great inequality of environment, the concentration of business in the hands of the few, and the law of competition between these as being not only beneficial but essential to the future progress of the human race. There, I finished. Which statement best represents Carnegie's business philosophy? I don't know. We welcome it when people's conditions and environments are equal. Wrong.
Carnegie is saying that people must get used to competition, inequality, and monopolies because they are beneficial and essential to human advancement.
Okay, so the right answer is competition and equality are necessary for human advancement. Yes.
So in the last segment, we learned all about Andrew Carnegie and how he used vertical integration, or
No, I don't know
all
how to make
means of
wigs.
production and distribution, to create Carnegie's
All I can do is
Italian
buy them.
monopoly. Now let's shift our focus over to John D. Rockefeller, and we're going to start talking about the Standard Oil Company. He was another captain of industry who used a different method, horizontal integration, to make his monopoly. John D. Rockefeller grew up in small towns in New York. Even as a child, Rockefeller showed promise as a businessman. He became an entrepreneur at a very young age. An entrepreneur is a person who sets up his own business. In Rockefeller's case, he started selling candy and potatoes and turkeys to his friends and neighbors. So Rockefeller landed his first real job when he was 16 years old. He became an assistant bookkeeper in a produce firm. This is where he learned how to calculate shipping and transportation costs, and this would help him later when he owned his own business. By age 20, Rockefeller had already moved out on his own. He and a friend started their own produce business that sold grain, hay, meat, and other goods. At age 24 in 1863, he and his business partner opened an oil refinery in what was called the Flats.
That's gonna make a shit ton of money.
Ohio. It was Rockefeller's first step into an industry that he would eventually monopolize.
The oil industry has a lot of money.
Just as Carnegie built a monopoly using vertical integration, Rockefeller built a monopoly too. He just did it in a different way. What Rockefeller did was he assembled a trust. Remember your vocab word. This is a large company or business combination that has gained or attempts to gain a monopolistic control of a market. The technology for refining oil was well known in the 1860s. So Rockefeller and a partner built their first oil refinery, the Excelsior Works in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1866, Rockefeller built a second refinery called the Standard Works. Rockefeller found a way to maximize his profits by selling as many different parts of the petroleum that he could. Other refiners discarded one or more parts of the petroleum as waste, but eventually, by finding ways to sell off these portions, Standard Works became the largest refinery in the world. Rockefeller continued his business.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna like literally blow my speakers. Okay.
The railroads to cut prices for shipping, borrowing money, and reinvesting profits. By 1870, he was ready to take his next step. He and his partners created Standard Oil, which quickly became the largest shipper of oil and kerosene in the entire world. After the formation of Standard Oil in 1870, Rockefeller moved steadily towards his monopoly. In December of 1871 and early 1872, Rockefeller began buying up all the competitors in Cleveland. By March of 1872, Standard Oil had bought or merged with
And that's
22
exactly why
out
you would
of
have got sent to
26 of the
detention.
refineries in Cleveland. Later, Rockefeller's ruthless takeover of the Cleveland refineries was called the Cleveland Massacre. Now remember this one, I'm not talking about people running and rioting in the streets and looting and pillaging. This was a hostile takeover of businesses. Rockefeller and the Standard Oil Company were becoming an unstoppable force. So after the Cleveland Massacre, Standard Oil continued to grow. By 1880, Standard Oil controlled 90 to
I'm doing my
95%
schoolwork.
of all the refining capacity in the United States. It had eliminated or had merged with most of its competitors. Then they had a little snap. Many states like Ohio, the home of Standard Oil, had passed laws that made it illegal to incorporate in one state and operate in other states. So to get around this, Standard Oil was really more than about 40 companies, many which operated in a single state. However, this made running the business more inefficient. So in 1882, Standard Oil created a corporation of corporations, the Standard
Why the
Oil
fuck that
Trust.
shit feel like it's trying to
The
come
trust
through my
was led by
eyeballs?
9 trustees. Rockefeller and his partners in the other Standard Oil businesses.
What the frick?
The Standard Oil Trust was following the law. It was operating in a single state, but of course it was really operating.
What if the smoke could come through my ear or my eye
that
ducts?
was doing business
Like the shit where your tears come out?
Both
That would be so weird.
and John D. Rockefeller were successful businessmen during the Gilded Age. Were there any similarities between the two men or their business methods? Write them in the space provided. After you have written your two ways, check your answer. Does your response include the reasons listed at the right?
Ooh, I would have got that answer totally wrong.
Okay, so remember that John D. Rockefeller and his business partners moved all of their smaller corporations under the control of one giant corporation that they called the Standard Oil Trust. Now, the Standard Oil Trust is a corporation.
You gave a
of
note to your
corporations.
crush.
Now, the trust also included oil wells, oil pipelines, tank cars, and rail lines. In this way, they're using some of Andrew Carnegie's methodologies of vertical integration by controlling the production and the distribution. The Standard Oil Trust controlled about 90% of the United States oil refineries and most of the oil refineries throughout the rest of the world.
Okay.
I want to talk about horizontal.
What was the point in
integration.
spamming a bunch of A's?
Control of all of the little refineries, controlling the entirety of the production. That's what makes this a horizontal integration system as opposed to just a vertical one like Andrew Carnegie's. Look at this for a second, and I'm going to use my little pen to help you out. So here I have all these little refineries, and if
Yo,
Is that under the control of one giant entity that I'm calling the Standard Oil Company, then I've just created horizontal integration.
we need you to stand up, please. And thank you. Perfect. Okay. Okay, next slide. We got 5 more slides to do.
As you heard, there was not a branch of the oil industry from which John D. Rockefeller did not make money. Why was he so intent on making so much money? Read the quotation and answer the question.
Read the quotation and answer the question. Read the quotation and answer the question. Let me answer the question.
As you heard, there was not a branch of the oil industry from which John D. Rockefeller did not make money. Why was he so intent on making so much money? Read the quotation and answer the question.
God gave me money. I believe the power to make money is a gift from God to be used and developed to the best of our ability for the best of mankind. Okay, let's read what answers we have to choose from. He believed it was his right to make as much money as he possibly could and that he should keep the money he made. No. He believed that his gift of making money came from his hard work. No. He believed that his ability to make money was a gift and that he could use his wealth to help others. Yes.
All right. Well, now you've learned how Andrew Carnegie used
Bored.
the process of vertical integration to build his monopoly industry. He bought all of the raw materials, he controlled the production, and he controlled the transportation. We've also learned about how John D. Rockefeller created his monopoly using horizontal integration. Now, controlling the entire production process is called horizontal integration. So how did this happen? So now we're going to look at the policy of laissez-faire that was going on in our government at the time that allowed these monopolies to happen. Okay, I think it's important to point out here that
I have 2 more slides left.
the only people creating monopolies at this time. There were lots of monopolies out there. And Americans really didn't like them. You can see in this picture in front of you that this giant octopus is representing Standard Oil Company. And if you look, he's got one tentacle wrapped around the Capitol, another one around Congress, and he's headed towards the White House down here. This is how Americans saw giant businesses. They were taking over the country. They didn't like monopolies because they believed that they led to reduced competition.
What do I think about what? What are you talking about?
Up or they'd be run out of business. This resulted in higher prices for consumers. Because these monopolies dominated their industry, they knew that they could charge whatever they wanted for a product that you couldn't get it someplace else. And if a competitor did move into the area, they would drive down their prices, putting that company then they would drive the prices back up again. This also
Yo.
presented a problem for workers. Because again, if you couldn't get a job anywhere else, then these monopolies could control the wages and the salaries.
Old enough.
We talked earlier about how workers prefer a competitive work environment because then they can work for whoever they want to, based on who's willing to pay them more. As a result, American citizens and American voters demanded that the government take action. Okay, so why weren't monopolies illegal? Well, until the 1890s, the government had a policy of laissez-faire. What this meant was that they had a very hands-off approach when it came to businesses. The reason for this was that the government believed that these businesses were in charge of all the economic growth that was
38 seconds. Come on, we're almost done.
As a result, there were no laws that protected the workers. There was no minimum wage. There was no safety in the workplace law. In fact, most of the laws that were passed actually benefited the businesses themselves and not the workers at all.
That better not be no motherfucking mimic, bitch. I fucking hate mimics. Try to copy my voice if you want to, you stupid fuck. Mimics. A mimic could be your dog, someone close to you that you love. A mimic could be anybody. That shit is scary. Wait, which of the following is an example of a government lie? Wait, hold on. I cannot see that at all. Okay. Which of the following is an example of a government, I don't know how to pronounce that, fair approach to business and the economy? During a strike, the government sends negotiators to work out a deal between the company and its workers. The government brings a court case against a telecommunications company that has a monopoly in the state of Colorado. Congress votes down a law providing a loan to a failing car manufacturer. Boom, bada bang, bada boom. I want to go hang out with my bitch fat daddy. Not everybody knows every word that exists in motherfucking human existence, just so y'all know. Motherfuckers back then couldn't even fucking spell Mississippi. Do you like it? You like my medals? A Takeover by Standard Oil. Yes, yes, yes. What was the core business that made Standard Oil a horizontally integrated monopoly? The correct answer is the whole time. The main thing that we've been talking about. Oil. Next question. How was Rockefeller able to build his monopoly across the oil industry? He bought oil refineries. What the fuck? Next question. What made Standard Oil a horizontal integration? It was owned by 90% of U.S. oil refineries. In which business did Andrew Carnegie create a monopoly? The oil business. I hope it's not the steel business and I'm wrong as fuck about it. You know what? I'm doubling back. Fuck that. Because that was supposed to be Carnegie. Carnegie's the one who, hold on. Go back to this question. Carnegie's the one whose oil business would have been at the billions. And then Andrew Carnegie, the steel business. Let's just hope for the best. I either want an 80, 90, or 100%. Next question. How much did the government regulate business practices during the Gilded Age? It barely regulated business at all. What the fuck? What the fuck, yeah? Which statement is true about the relationship between a monopoly and its competition in a market? Monopolies thrive when they have competition. That's true. That's true. Next question. But no. I'm not gonna do that to myself because there might be a better answer than that. I'm not just gonna go with the first answer I see. Monopolies thrive when they have competition. Competition in the market ensures that monopolies charge fair prices. No. Competition in the market helps monopolies to develop. No. Monopolies are formed when businesses buy out their competition in a market. Yeah. Yeah. Next question. What business practices contributed most to Andrew Carnegie's ability to form a monopoly? Increasing his profits every year, using profits to support charities, and greatly improving his reputation, focusing on a single aspect of steel production, combining his companies into one company, and controlling all aspects of steel production. That's a smart idea. I like that one. I like that answer. Next question. Why was Carnegie Steel able to offer its product more cheaply than its competitors? Carnegie made an inferior product so it was less expensive to produce. Carnegie cut corners in his production, lowering his costs. Carnegie avoided using the Bessemer process, decreasing the cost of production. Carnegie could cut his costs because he owned the supply of raw materials and the means of production and distribution. Yes. Yes. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. Which company was a monopoly during the Gilded Age? Micro? Wait, no. I think that's AT&T, because that's the company that they were only allowed to use. I'm pretty sure. Carnegie. Wait, we're not talking about. We've been talking about Carnegie this whole time, so it has to be Carnegie still. Which company was a monopoly during the Gilded Age? Carnegie Steel. It's time to submit it. 3, 2, 1. Submit. I got a 100%. $100. A test. I just sat here and did a test. And I only had one attempt, which I didn't know. I would have been so fucking furious if I got a lower score than that with only one attempt. I have to pee. Gotta go to the bathroom. Yeah. It's so. I'm about to pee myself. I could have. Ooh, this warm water feels so good. Anyways. Okay. Done using the bathroom. Now it's time to get back to work. Fuck, it's cold. I need my blow dryer. Yeah, fuck that. Where's my blow dryer at? I'm gonna put this hoe under the blanket. Is my window open? No, it's not, so it shouldn't be cold. Mind you, I get paid more than $50 a month, honey. I don't need your dusty $50. I get paid weekly and monthly on different sites. But I need this blow dryer down bad, bro. Like, real bad. That's cold air. That's so much better. I'm gonna put it under the blanket. So I can get warm. Ooh. Oh yeah. Go ahead. I don't really care whether you unsubscribe or subscribe or not. It's more people that are come. Go take a remedial English class before you tell me to shut up. No, I'm about to finish the rest of my work. Low-key. I got 11 more assignments to do. Ooh, this instruction one is 40 minutes. Fuck no. I don't even want to do that.
Is there an invention that you just can't live without? For me, it's a coffee maker. But for you, it might be something more simple.
Coffee maker.
Look at the picture in front of you. Light bulbs. Today's lesson is called Technology and Society in the Industrial Age. And we're going to be looking at all the innovations and inventions that were taking place during the late 1800s. Although this time period is often called the Industrial Age, it was really more of a technological revolution. So let's get right into it.
Do I smoke weed? Yes. Do you smoke weed? smoke weed every day.
Okay, so let's head back to the
I
late
low-key want to listen to
1800s.
Snoop Dogg
This
now.
was a time of a lot of change. And that's when the country found itself at the end of the Civil War. The railroads were very important in development. They were also very cool. As they grew and expanded and
Snoop Dogg's my
improved, they
dad.
radically changed
How about
American
that?
life.
I'm just playing.
These new
Snoop Dogg not my
developments
dad.
often happened because of inventions that made it easier to make other things. In the early 1800s, American inventors began to use interchangeable parts, which helps Americans invent and manufacture
Michael Jackson's my
new
second
products
cousin.
much more easily. Interchangeable parts were easy to replace and they were easy to improve
Janet
upon.
Jackson.
They allowed
She my
products to last
stepsister.
longer and they could easily be mass-produced. Interchangeable parts and mass production were very important to the changes that were taking place during this era. They made it possible to manufacture more goods for more people.
I don't really vape as much. This is like the vape that I had earlier. That vape I got from my auntie on Memorial Day.
It changed more
I
than
smoke
just how
weed
people
mostly.
traveled, communicated, and manufactured goods. It also changed the way that people lived every day. Americans discovered inventions that saved them time.
I've never watched
and made their
Sephora.
lives more enjoyable. Advertisements help these inventions.
Wait, what? No, I use baby
Now, I
lotion.
love old advertisements.
And
Take a
then
look at these that are on your screen. Do you see any that would still be relevant?
hold on, let me show you. Damn, that was loud. Okay. This is the lotion that I use. And then for the face wash, obviously it's gonna be the same brand. And then for extra moisture, baby lotion. But yeah, I'll be back in like 30 minutes. I want to go call my boyfriend.